Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U-East horizon and watched the alien ship come closer. The ship looked like a smooth white egg floating through space. No sharp edges, no weapons that he could see. It moved slowly and carefully, like someone walking on thin ice. "Captain Hughes, they're sending another message," said Amy Davis from her seat at the communications panel. Her fingers danced over the controls as she worked to translate the alien language. Captain Lisa Hughes walked over to look at the message. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. She had been in space for 15 years and had seen many strange things, but this was her first time meeting aliens. "What do they want now?" she asked. "They want to know if we're really peaceful," Amy said. "They keep asking the same question over and over." Jake laughed. "Maybe they're nervous." "Can't blame them for that. The alien ship had been following them for 3 days now. The aliens called themselves the Zalari. They looked like tall, thin people with gray skin and big black eyes. They wore flowing robes and spoke in soft, musical voices. Everything about them seemed gentle and careful. "They're asking permission to come on board," Amy said. "They want to meet us face to face?" "Tell them yes," Captain Hughes said, "but remind them about our safety rules. No weapons, no recording devices, the usual stuff." Jake watched the small shuttle leave the alien ship. It moved the same way as the big ship, slow and careful. He wondered why they were so cautious about everything. 2 hours later, Jake stood in the main conference room, waiting for the aliens to arrive. The room was clean and bright, with a long table in the center. Dr. Richard Stone was there too, looking excited. Richard was the ship's science officer, a friendly man with messy red hair and glasses that were always sliding down his nose. "This is amazing," Richard said for the 10th time. "First contact with an alien species. My kids back home won't believe this." "Just remember to be polite," Captain Hughes said. "We don't want to scare them off." The door opened and 3 Zalari walked in. They moved like dancers, smooth and graceful. The one in front wore a blue robe with silver trim. His skin was pale gray, and his eyes were completely black, no white parts at all. "Greetings," he said in careful English. "I am Ambassador Cuthver. Thank you for meeting with us." "Welcome to our ship," Captain Hughes said. "I'm Captain Lisa Hughes. This is my science officer, Dr. Richard Stone, and my security chief, Jake Morrison." The aliens looked at Jake when she said, "Security chief." They seemed worried about something. "Please sit down," Captain Hughes said, pointing to the chairs around the table. The Zalari sat very carefully, like they were afraid the chairs might break. Ambassador Cuthver folded his long hands on the table and looked at the humans. "We have been watching your species for some time," he said. "We wanted to understand you before making contact." "That's smart," Richard said. "We'd probably do the same thing. We have some questions," Ambassador Cuthver said. "About your ... normal activities." "Sure," Captain Hughes said. "Ask away." "We saw your people jumping from very high places with only cloth to slow their fall. Is this a punishment for crimes?" Jake and Richard looked at each other and started laughing. The Zalari jumped back in their chairs like they had been shocked. "Oh, that's skydiving," Richard said, still chuckling. "People do that for fun. It's exciting." "For ... fun?" Ambassador Cuthver's voice got very quiet. "Yeah, I love skydiving," Jake said. "There's nothing like falling through the sky at 120 miles per hour. Makes you feel alive." The 3 Zalari stared at Jake like he had just said he enjoyed eating poison. "You throw yourself from aircraft ... for pleasure?" one of the other aliens asked. "Well, we don't throw ourselves," Richard said. "We jump with parachutes. It's perfectly safe if you know what you're doing." "Safe?" Ambassador Cuthver repeated. the word like he didn't understand it. Sure. I mean, there's always some risk, Jake said. But that's part of what makes it fun. Last month, I went bungee jumping off a bridge. Now that was a rush. The Zelari looked at each other and made soft clicking sounds. Jake figured they were talking in their own language. Is this behavior common among your people? Ambassador Kethver asked. Pretty common, Richard said. I prefer mountain climbing myself. Nothing beats the feeling of reaching the top of a mountain after climbing for 12 hours. You climb mountains? The alien's voice was getting higher. Just as a hobby, Richard said. Last year I climbed Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Beautiful view from the top. How high is this mountain? Ambassador Kethver asked. About 6,000 feet, Richard said. Not that high, really. I want to try Mount McKinley next year. That's over 20,000 feet. The Zelari were making more clicking sounds now. They seemed upset. About something. Are you all right? Captain Hughes asked. We are ... processing this information, Ambassador Kethver said. Your people climb dangerous heights and jump from aircraft as entertainment? Among other things, Jake said. Some people surf huge waves. Others race cars at 200 miles per hour. Some people fight in cages for sport. Fight in cages? One of the aliens squeaked. Mixed martial arts, Jake explained. Two people get in a ring and fight until one gives up or gets knocked out. It's really popular. The Zelari were making lots of clicking sounds now. They sounded like angry insects. Perhaps we should talk about something else, Captain Hughes said. She could see the aliens were getting uncomfortable. We have children on this ship, Richard said helpfully. Would you like to meet them? Children? Ambassador Kethver asked. You bring your young on dangerous space voyages? It's not that dangerous, Captain Hughes said. We have families on board. Kids need to see the universe, too. What activities do your children do? Ambassador Kethver asked carefully. Normal kid stuff, Richard said. They play soccer, take swimming lessons, learn martial arts. My daughter Jenny is only 8, but she's already a yellow belt in karate. The Zelari stopped making clicking sounds. They went completely silent. Your 8-year-old child practices combat? Ambassador Kethver whispered. It's not combat, Richard laughed. It's martial arts. Teaches discipline and self-control. All the kids on the ship take lessons. You train your children to fight? One of the other aliens asked. We teach them to defend themselves, Jake said. And it's good exercise. Kids need to stay active. The Zelari stood up suddenly. They looked scared. We must return to our ship, Ambassador Kethver said, to process this information. So soon? Captain Hughes asked. We were hoping you could stay for dinner. Perhaps another time, Ambassador Kethver said. But he didn't sound like he meant it. The 3 aliens left quickly, almost running. Jake watched them go and shook his head. Strange folks, he said. They seemed really worried about normal stuff. Maybe they're just very peaceful, Richard said. Some species might not understand our way of life. Captain Hughes nodded. We'll just have to be patient with them. First contact is always tricky. Jake looked out the window at the alien ship. It was moving away from them now, faster than before. He wondered what had scared them so much. After all, they had only talked about normal human activities. What was so frightening about that? Ambassador Kethver floated in his meditation chamber aboard the Zelari research station. The chamber was filled with soft blue light and quiet music. Usually, this place made him feel calm. Today, it did not work. His mind kept going back to the meeting with the humans. The terrible things they had said. The way they smiled when they talked about throwing themselves from high places. The way they laughed about their children learning to fight. A soft chime told him that Dr. Vexthal was asking to enter. Kethver opened the door with a thought. The station's chief scientist glided in. Her silver robe flowed around her like water. "I have reviewed the recordings from your meeting," she said. Her voice was troubled. "Are you certain the translation was correct?" "I checked it 3 times, Kethver said. "The humans really do these things. They jump from aircraft. They climb dangerous mountains. They teach their young to fight." Dr. Vexthel's large black eyes seemed to grow even larger. "But why? Are they punishing themselves? Are they mentally ill?" "I don't think so," Kethver said. "They seemed happy. They smiled when they talked about these activities." "This makes no sense," Dr. Vexthel said. "No intelligent species would risk death for pleasure." Kethver touched a control panel, and the wall became a large screen. It showed the recordings from the human ship. The 3 humans sitting at the table, talking casually about the most horrible things. "Watch their faces," Kethver said. "See how they react when they talk about jumping from aircraft." On the screen, Jake Morrison was describing skydiving. His eyes were bright, and he was smiling. He looked like someone talking about their favorite meal or a beautiful sunset. "He enjoys it," Dr. Vexthel whispered. "He actually enjoys falling through the sky." "And look at this," Kethver said. He changed the recording to show Richard Stone talking about mountain climbing. He climbs mountains for fun. He risks his life for entertainment. Dr. Vexthel watched the human describe climbing in freezing cold, fighting against wind and ice, sleeping on narrow ledges thousands of feet above the ground. Richard Stone looked happy talking about it. "What kind of species does this?" Dr. Vexthel asked. "I don't know," Kethver said, "but I think we need to learn more." The next few days were busy. The Zelari research team worked around the clock to intercept human communications. They found thousands of broadcasts from Earth. What they saw made them more worried than ever. In one transmission, they watched humans throw themselves off tall bridges with only elastic cords tied to their legs. The humans called it bungee jumping. They screamed as they fell, but when they bounced back up, they were laughing and cheering. "Look at this," Dr. Vexthel said, showing another recording to the research team. "They call it surfing. They stand on boards and ride waves that are taller than buildings." The team watched in horror as humans balanced on narrow boards while massive walls of water crashed around them. Some of the waves were so big they could crush a small ship. The humans seemed to love it. "Here's another one," said Dr. Ziegmer, the team's junior researcher. "They call it white water rafting. They put themselves in small boats and ride down violent rivers full of rocks." The recording showed humans in tiny boats being thrown around by rushing water. The boats flipped over and the humans were tossed into the river. They came up laughing and got back in the boat. "Are they insane?" Dr. Vexthel asked. "I'm starting to think so," Kethver said. But the worst discovery came when they found recordings of something called extreme sports. Humans skiing down mountains at incredible speeds. Humans jumping motorcycles over huge gaps. Humans climbing frozen waterfalls using only metal tools. "This one is called base jumping," Dr. Ziegmer said. His voice was shaking. "They jump off cliffs and buildings with small parachutes." The team watched humans leap from the tops of tall buildings. They fell for long seconds before their parachutes opened. Sometimes the parachutes didn't open properly. Sometimes the humans crashed into things, but they kept doing it. Why? Dr. Vexthel asked. "Why do they do this?" "I think I know," Kethver said slowly. "I think they enjoy the fear." The other Zelari stared at him. "Think about it," Kethver continued. "Every time they do these activities, they're risking death. That should terrify any intelligent being. But they smile. They laugh. They seem to get pleasure from being afraid." "That's impossible," Dr. Vexthel said. "Fear is a warning system. It tells us to avoid danger. Not for humans, Cuthbert said. For humans, fear seems to be entertainment. The research team found more evidence. Humans paid money to visit places called haunted houses, where people jumped out and scared them. They watched movies full of monsters and violence. They read books about terrible things happening to people. Look at this, Dr. Ziegler said. They have places called amusement parks, where they build machines specifically to terrify people. The recording showed humans strapping themselves into machines that spun them around, threw them through the air, and turned them upside down. The machines were called roller coasters. The humans screamed while riding them, but they got off and immediately got back in line to ride again. They're addicted to fear, Dr. Vexthal said. They need more and more dangerous activities, too. Feel satisfied. Cuthbert nodded grimly. And this is just their entertainment. We haven't even looked at their work yet. The research team found recordings of human occupations. Humans who fought fires for a living. Humans who went deep underwater to work on oil rigs. Humans who worked in space, floating in the void with only thin suits to protect them. They have people called test pilots, Dr. Ziegler said. Their job is to fly new aircraft that might crash. And these are called stunt performers, Dr. Vexthal added. They get paid to do dangerous things for movies. The recordings showed humans jumping through windows, setting themselves on fire, and crashing vehicles. They did it over and over until they got it right. This is their job, Cuthbert said. They risk their lives for money. But the most shocking discovery came when they found recordings of human children. Young humans, barely old enough to walk, were already being trained in dangerous activities. They call it Little League, Dr. Ziegler said. Children as young as 5 years old hit balls at each other with wooden sticks. The team watched small humans running around a field, trying to hit a hard ball with a bat. Sometimes the ball hit the children instead of the bat. The children cried for a moment, then got back up and kept playing. And this is called gymnastics, Dr. Vexthal said. Children flip through the air and land on narrow beams. The recording showed young humans doing impossible acrobatic moves. They twisted and spun high above the ground. Sometimes they fell. Sometimes they got hurt. But they kept trying. The parents watch and cheer, Cuthbert observed. They're proud of their children for doing these dangerous things. They're training them, Dr. Vexthal said. From childhood, they're teaching them not to fear death. The research team sat in silence, thinking about what they had learned. The humans weren't just dangerous. They were training their young to be dangerous too. I need to contact the council, Cuthbert said. This is bigger than we thought. What will you tell them? Dr. Vexthal asked. That we've made contact with a species that thinks danger is fun, Cuthbert said. A species that teaches its children to risk death for entertainment. He paused and looked at the recordings again. Humans laughing as they fell from great heights. Humans cheering as they rode through violet waters. Humans smiling as they faced their fears. I think we're dealing with a species that has no survival. Instinct, he said finally. Or worse, a species that has turned its survival instinct upside down. The research team began preparing their report. They gathered hundreds of recordings showing human behavior. Each one was more disturbing than the last dot as they worked. A new transmission came in from the human ship. Captain Hughes was sending a friendly message, asking if they could meet again soon. She wanted to show them more of human culture. Cuthbert looked at the message and shuddered. More human culture. More evidence of their terrifying nature. Send a reply, he told Dr. Ziegler. Tell them we're still processing the information from our first meeting. What he didn't say was that they were processing it with growing horror. The humans weren't just dangerous. They were the most dangerous species the Zalari had ever encountered. And the worst part was that they didn't seem to know it. The Zalari High Council Chamber was a place of peace and wisdom. Soft light came from crystals in the walls. The air smelled like flowers. Everything was designed to help the council members think clearly and make good decisions. Today, the chamber felt different. The council members sat in their floating chairs, but they were not calm. They were afraid. Kethver stood in the center of the chamber, holding a datapad full of human recordings. Around him, the 12 council members waited to hear his report. Their large black eyes reflected the crystal light. "Honored Council," Kethver began, "I bring disturbing news about the humans." "We have seen some of your preliminary reports," said Council Leader Mothara. Her voice was soft but worried. "Please tell us everything." Kethver touched his datapad, and the walls around the chamber became screens. They showed recordings of humans doing impossible things, humans jumping from aircraft, humans climbing frozen waterfalls, humans riding waves taller than buildings. "These are not training exercises," Kethver said. "These are entertainment activities. Humans do these things for fun." The council members watched in silence. Their faces showed shock and confusion. "But this is not the worst part," Kethvar continued. "I have discovered something much more disturbing." He changed the recordings to show human history. Ancient battles where millions of humans fought each other. Wars that lasted for years. Humans marching toward certain death with songs on their lips. "They fight wars," Councilmember Vex Quinn said. "Many species have done this." "Yes," Kethver said, "but look at how they fight." The recordings showed humans charging into battle against impossible odds. Humans staying to fight when they could run away. Humans sacrificing themselves to save others. "They don't just fight," Kethver said. "They choose to die. They call it heroism and sacrifice. They think dying for others is a good thing." The council members began making soft clicking sounds. This was how Zalari showed extreme distress. "There's more," Kethver said. "They make entertainment about war." He showed them human movies about battles. Humans fighting aliens, robots, and monsters. The humans in these movies always won, but only after incredible violence and destruction. "They enjoy watching violence," Kethver said. "They pay money to see stories about war and death." Council member Zik Thara raised her hand. "Perhaps these are historical records? Lessons about the dangers of war?" "No," Kethver said sadly. "These are fantasies. Stories they made up for entertainment." He showed them more movies. Humans fighting zombies. Humans surviving apocalyptic disasters. Humans battling alien invasions. "They imagine terrible things happening to their world," Kethver said. "And then they make stories about surviving them." "Why?" Council Leader Mothara asked. "Why do they want to think about such horrible things?" "I think they enjoy the challenge," Kethver said. "They like to imagine themselves overcoming impossible odds." Dr. Vexthol, who had been watching from the side of the chamber, stepped forward. "Honored Council, I have been studying human psychology. I believe they are addicted to something called adrenaline." "Explain," Council Leader Mothara said. "When humans face danger, their bodies produce a chemical," Dr. Vexthol said. "This chemical makes them stronger and faster, but it also makes them feel good. They become addicted to this feeling. So they seek out danger to get more of this chemical?" Council member Vex Quinn asked. "Exactly," Dr. Vexthol said. "They need fear and danger to feel normal." Kethver nodded. "This explains their behavior, but it makes them incredibly dangerous." He showed the council recordings of human emergency responders. Humans who ran into burning buildings to save others. Humans who dove into stormy seas, too. Rescued drowning people. Humans who worked in places where one mistake could kill them. "They volunteer for these jobs," Kethver said. They want to do dangerous work. The council members were clicking more loudly now. The sound filled the chamber, like rain on leaves. "Show them the children," Dr. Vexthul said quietly. Kethver's hand hesitated over his datapad. This was the worst part, the part that had kept him awake for days. "Their children," he said slowly, "are trained from birth to be fearless." The screens showed human children playing, but their games were violent. Children chasing each other, and tackling each other to the ground. Children hitting balls at each other with sticks. Children learning to fight with their hands and feet. "This is called tag," Kethver said. "Children run from each other and try to catch each other." "And this is called dodgeball," Dr. Vexthul added. "Children throw balls at each other as hard as they can." The council watched in horror as human children played these games. The children were laughing and having fun while doing things that would terrify adult Zelari. "They start combat training at age 5, Kethver said. "They call it martial arts and self-defense, but it's really teaching them to hurt others." The recording showed small human children learning to punch and kick. Their parents watched and cheered. Teachers gave them colored belts as rewards for learning new ways to fight. "The parents are proud," Council Member Zikthara whispered. "They want their children to learn these things." "Yes," Kethver said. "They think it's good for them." But the most disturbing recordings were still to come. Kethver showed the council human sports. Humans tackling each other in games called football and rugby. Humans hitting each other with sticks in a game called hockey. Humans fighting in rings while thousands of people watched and cheered. "These are not real fights," Kethver said. "These are games. Entertainment. They hurt each other for fun?" Council leader Mathara asked. "Yes," Kethver said. "And people pay money to watch them do it." The council members were standing now, too agitated to sit. They were making clicking sounds and speaking in rapid, worried voices. "There's something else," Dr. Vexthul said. "Something that might be even worse." She took control of the screens and showed recordings of human celebrations. Humans setting off explosives in the sky. Humans dancing around fires. Humans drinking liquids that made them act strangely. "They use chemical weapons on themselves," Dr. Vexthul said. "They drink poison that affects their brains." "For medical reasons?" Council Member Vex Quinn asked hopefully. "No," Dr. Vexthul said. "For entertainment. They call it alcohol, and they drink it to feel different." The recording showed humans drinking and becoming unsteady on their feet. They laughed more loudly and did even more dangerous things than usual. "They deliberately damage their own minds," Dr. Vexthul said. "And they enjoy it." Kethver took back control of the screens. "But the most frightening thing is this," he said. He showed the council the recording of his meeting with the humans. Captain Hughes, Jake Morrison, and Richard Stone sitting at the table, talking calmly about their dangerous activities. "Watch their faces," Kethver said. "See how they react when they talk about risking their lives." The council watched as the humans smiled and laughed. They looked happy and relaxed. They seemed to think their dangerous activities were completely normal. "They don't know," Kethver said quietly. "They don't understand how dangerous they are." "What do you mean?" Council leader Mathara asked. "They think this is normal behavior," Kethver said. "They think all intelligent species must act this way." The chamber fell silent. The council members stared at the screens, trying to understand what they were seeing. "They're not pretending," Dr. Vexthul said. "They're not trying to scare us. They genuinely believe that jumping from aircraft and climbing mountains is normal." "Which means," Kethver said slowly, "they don't understand why we're afraid of them." Council leader Mathara floated down from her chair. She looked older than her 1,000 years. "What do you recommend?" she asked. "I think we should avoid them," Kethver said. "They're too dangerous to deal with." But they seem friendly, Council. Member Zekthara said. They invited us to dinner. That's what makes them so dangerous, Kethver said. They're friendly, and they don't know how scary they are. He changed the screens to show more human activities. Humans working on tall buildings without safety equipment. Humans diving deep underwater to explore old ships. Humans traveling to other planets in metal boxes. They live in a way that would kill us, Kethver said. And they think it's normal. The council members looked at each other. They were all thinking the same thing. How do you deal with a species that thinks danger is fun? How do you negotiate? With people who don't understand their own power? We need more information. Council leader Mafara said finally. Contact them again, but be very careful. Kethver bowed. Yes, honored leader. As he left the chamber, Kethver thought about the human invitation to dinner. Captain Hughes had seemed so friendly, so normal, but now he knew the truth. She was probably just as dangerous as the rest of them. The humans thought they were normal. That was the scariest thing of all. Captain Hughes was in a good mood. She had just received a message from the Zelari, asking for another meeting. She was excited to learn more about their new alien friends. Amy, send a reply to the Zelari, she said to her communications officer. Tell them we'd love to meet again. Ask if they want to visit our medical bay. Dr. Stone has some interesting research to share. Amy Davis looked up from her console. Medical bay? Are you sure that's a good idea? They seemed nervous about our normal activities. They're just being cautious, Captain Hughes said. Once they get to know us better, they'll relax. 3 hours later, Ambassador Kethvar and Dr. Vexthul arrived on the human ship. They looked even more nervous than before. Their gray skin seemed paler, and their big black eyes kept darting around like they expected something to attack them. Welcome back, Captain Hughes said warmly. We're so glad you came. Thank you for having us, Kethver said. His voice was very quiet. Jake Morrison joined them in the hallway. He was walking with a slight limp. Sorry, I'm a bit slow today, Jake said cheerfully. I had a little accident during my morning run. The two Zelari stepped back quickly. Accident? Dr. Vexthul asked. Nothing serious, Jake said. Just twisted my ankle when I was running on the treadmill. Dr. Stone says it'll be fine in a few days. You were injured during exercise? Kethver asked. Happens all the time, Jake said. Last month I pulled a muscle lifting weights. The month before that, I got a black eye during boxing practice. The Zelari made soft clicking sounds. You ... Box? Dr. Vexthul asked. Sure, Jake said. Great workout. Nothing like getting punched in the face to make you feel alive. Captain Hughes noticed that the aliens looked upset. Maybe we should go to the medical bay, she said. Dr. Stone is waiting for us. They walked through the ship's corridors. The walls were covered with pictures of Earth, images of mountains, oceans, and cities. To the humans, they looked beautiful. To the Zelari, they looked like a planet full of death traps. Is that your home world? Kethver asked, pointing to a picture of a snow-covered mountain. That's Mount Everest, Captain Hughes said proudly. The tallest mountain on Earth. People climb it all the time. They climb that? Dr. Vexthul whispered. Oh, yes, Captain Hughes said. It's very popular. Hundreds of people try to climb it every year. How many succeed? Kethver asked. Most of them, Captain Hughes said, though some people do die up. There, the air is very thin, and the weather can be dangerous. The Zelari stopped walking. People die attempting this climb? Dr. Vexthul asked. Sometimes, Captain Hughes said. But that doesn't stop people from trying. My brother climbed it. Last year, he said it was the best experience of his life. The aliens looked at each other and made more clicking sounds. They reached the medical bay and Dr. Stone greeted them with a big smile. The medical bay was bright and clean, with white walls and lots of strange equipment. "Welcome to our medical center," Dr. Stone said. "This is where we take care of our sick and injured." "You have many sick and injured?" Kethfer asked. "Well, we're in space," Dr. Stone said. "Accidents happen. Just yesterday, engineer Bill Murphy broke his arm fixing a power coupling. And last week, Lieutenant Susan Parker got a concussion during combat training." "Combat training?" Dr. Vextel's voice was very high now. "Sure," Dr. Stone said. "All our security officers train in hand-to-hand combat. They practice fighting each other to stay in shape." "They fight each other?" Kethfer asked. "Not to hurt each other," Dr. Stone said. "Well, not seriously. Sometimes people get bruises or small cuts. It's all part of the training." Dr. Stone led them to a wall covered with X-ray images, pictures of human bones, some of them clearly broken. "These are some interesting cases we've treated," Dr. Stone said. "This one shows a broken leg from a skiing accident. This one is a fractured skull from a rock climbing fall." The Zelari stared at the images in horror. "These people were in accidents?" Dr. Vextel asked. "Well, they were doing dangerous sports," Dr. Stone said. "Skiing, rock climbing, motorcycle racing. You know, normal recreational activities." "Normal?" Kethfer repeated. "Sure," Dr. Stone said. "Everyone back on Earth does stuff like this. It's good exercise, and it's fun." He showed them more X-rays. Broken arms, cracked ribs, twisted spines. "This woman broke her back bungee jumping." Dr. Stone said, "This man shattered his leg mountain biking. This kid broke his arm skateboarding." "Children do these activities too?" Dr. Vextel asked weakly. "Of course," Dr. Stone said. "Kids love extreme sports. My nephew started snowboarding when he was 5. He's broken his arm twice, but he keeps going back." The Zelari were clicking, so loudly now that it sounded like machines breaking. "Are you all right?" Captain Hughes asked. "We are processing this information," Kethfer said. Dr. Stone opened a cabinet and pulled out some medical tools. Needles, knives, and other sharp instruments. "This is some of our surgical equipment," he said. "We use these to fix people when they get badly injured." "You cut into people?" Dr. Vextel asked, backing away from the tools. "Only when we need to," Dr. Stone said. "Sometimes we have to operate to save someone's life." He picked up a scalpel and held it up to the light. "This is one of my favorites. Very sharp. Perfect for cutting through skin and muscle." The two Zelari were pressed against the wall now, as far from the knife as they could get. "Last month, I had to remove someone's appendix," Dr. Stone continued. "Cut right through the abdominal wall. The patient was awake during part of it." "Awake?" Kethfer squeaked. "Local anesthetic," Dr. Stone explained. "We numbed the area, but she could still talk to us during the surgery. She was very brave. She was conscious while you cut her open." Dr. Vextel asked. "Sure," Dr. Stone said. "Some people prefer it that way. They want to know what's happening." Captain Hughes noticed that the aliens looked like they might faint. "Maybe we should sit down," she suggested. They moved to a small room with chairs and a table. The walls were covered with medical charts showing human anatomy, pictures of muscles, bones, and organs. "These charts help us understand how the human body works," Dr. Stone said. "Very useful when we're treating injuries." "You have many injuries?" Kethver asked. "Well, humans are pretty tough," Dr. Stone said, "but we do get hurt sometimes. Falls, cuts, burns, broken bones. The human body can take a lot of damage and keep working." "How much damage?" Dr. Vextel asked. "Quite a bit," Dr. Stone said proudly. "I've seen people survive things that should have killed them." Car crashes, building collapses, even getting struck by lightning. Lightning? Kethver whispered. Natural electrical discharge, Captain Hughes explained. Very dangerous. But some people survive it. I treated a man who was struck by lightning while playing golf, Dr. Stone said. He was unconscious for 2 days, but he made a full recovery. He went back to playing golf the next month. He returned to the activity that nearly killed him? Dr. Vexthal asked. Sure, Dr. Stone said. He said lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. The Zellari made more clicking sounds. Tell them about the immune system, Captain Hughes suggested. Oh, that's fascinating, Dr. Stone said. The human immune system is incredibly strong. We can survive diseases that would kill most other species. Diseases? Kethver asked nervously. Viruses, bacteria, parasites, Dr. Stone said. Our bodies are constantly fighting off infections. We're exposed to millions of germs every day. And you survive this? Dr. Vexthal asked. Most of the time, Dr. Stone said. Sometimes we get sick, but we usually recover. The human body is amazing at healing itself. He pulled out a medical textbook and showed them pictures of various diseases. This is what we call the common cold, he said. Very minor illness. Everyone gets it several times a year. You regularly become ill? Kethver asked. Sure, Dr. Stone said. It's normal. Helps keep our immune system strong. And this is influenza, he continued, turning the page. More serious, but most people recover in a week or two. The aliens stared at the pictures of sick humans. They look like they're dying, Dr. Vexthal said. Oh, they feel terrible, Doctor. Stone said, but they get better. The human body is very resilient. Jake Morrison limped into the room. Sorry to interrupt, he said. Dr. Stone, could you look at my ankle? I think I might have made it worse. Of course, Dr. Stone said. Hop up on the examination table. Jake sat down and took off his shoe. His ankle was swollen and purple. Dr. Stone said, poking at the injury. Definitely twisted. Might be a small fracture. Will I be able to run tomorrow? Jake asked. I wouldn't recommend it, Dr. Stone said. Give it at least a week. A week? Jake looked disappointed. But I'm training for a marathon. What's a marathon? Kethver asked weakly. A long-distance race, Jake said. 26 miles. I've been training for months. You run for 26 miles? Dr. Vexthal asked. Sure, Jake said. Some people run even farther. Ultramarathons can be 100 miles or more. Why? Kethver asked. Jake thought about it. I guess because it's challenging. It hurts, but it feels good to push through the pain. You enjoy pain? Dr. Vexthal asked. Well, not exactly, Jake said, but I like overcoming it. Makes me feel strong. Dr. Stone nodded. That's very common among humans. We seem to like testing our limits. What limits? Kethver asked. Physical limits, mental limits, Dr. Stone said. How much pain we can handle. How long we can go without sleep. How much stress we can take. You deliberately stress yourselves? Dr. Vexthal asked. Sometimes. Dr. Stone said, The emergency session of the Zellari High Council began at dawn. All 12 council members were present, along with Ambassador Kethvar and Dr. Vexthal. The crystal lights in the chamber were dimmed, creating an atmosphere of serious concern. Council leader Mothara floated in the center of the room. Her ancient face showed the weight of difficult decisions. Ambassador Kethvar, she said, please share your latest findings about the humans. Kethvar stood slowly. He looked like he had not slept in days. Honored Council, he began. I have disturbing news. The humans are far more dangerous than we first believed. The council members leaned forward in their chairs. They cut into each other, Kethver said. with knives. While the victims are awake, gasps echoed through the chamber. They call it surgery, Dr. Vexthul added. They claim it's to help people. But the victims seem to enjoy it. Enjoy it? Council member Zekthara asked in horror. The human doctor showed us pictures of their injuries, Kethvar said. Broken bones, cuts, burns. He seemed proud of them. He activated the wall screens to show the recordings from the medical bay. The council watched in silence as Dr. Stone displayed his surgical tools and talked about cutting people open. They voluntarily allow this? Council member Vexquin asked. Yes, Kethvar said, and they pay for it. They pay to be tortured? Council leader Mothara asked. They don't see it as torture, Dr. Vexthul said. They see it as normal health care. The council members were clicking loudly now, their distress. Filling the chamber. There's more, Kethvar said. They deliberately make themselves sick. What do you mean? Council leader Mothara asked. They inject themselves with diseases, Kethvar explained. They call it vaccination. They expose themselves to viruses and bacteria to strengthen their immune systems. They poison themselves? Council member Zekthara whispered. And they give these poisons to their children, Dr. Vexthul added, starting when they're babies. The clicking sounds grew louder. Show them the exercise facility, Dr. Vexthul said. Kethvar changed the screens to show recordings of humans working out. The council watched in horror as humans lifted heavy weights, ran on moving platforms, and hit punching bags. This is called a gym, Kethvar said. They go there to hurt themselves. They're torturing themselves? Council member Vexquin asked. They seem to enjoy it, Kethvar said. They sweat and breathe heavily and make sounds of pain. But they keep doing it. Why? Council leader Mothara asked. They say it makes them stronger, Dr. Vexthul said. They believe that suffering improves them. The council members stared at the screens in disbelief. And their children? Council leader Mothara asked. They start training their children very young, Kethvar said. They have places called schools where they force children to compete with each other. He showed them recordings of human children in classrooms, taking tests and competing for grades. They create stress and anxiety in their young, Kethvar said. They call it education. And look at this, Dr. Vexthul said. They call it physical education. The screens showed children running, jumping, and playing violent games. The children were sweating and breathing hard, but they seemed to be enjoying themselves. They're training their children to be warriors, Kethvar said. From the age of 5, they teach them to fight and compete. Council member Zekthar raised her hand. Perhaps we should contact other species. See if they have encountered humans before. I already have, Kethvar said. The results are disturbing. He brought up new recordings. These were from other alien species who had met humans. The Kelvins encountered humans 20 years ago, Kethvar said. They described them as friendly but terrifying. The Andromedans had a similar experience, Dr. Vexthul added. They said humans were kind but dangerous. And the Vulcans, Kethvar continued, called them fascinating but unpredictable. What did all these species do? Council leader Mothara asked. They all chose to avoid human space, Kethvar said. They found humans too dangerous to deal with. The council members looked at each other with worried expressions. But the humans don't seem to understand why, Dr. Vexthul said. They keep trying to make contact with other species. They sent you as another message this morning, Kethvar said. They want to show us their entertainment facilities. Entertainment facilities? Council member Vexquin asked. Places where they watch other humans hurt each other, Kethvar explained. They call it sports. He showed them recordings of human sports. Boxing matches, football games, hockey fights. The humans in the audience were cheering and having fun. They enjoy watching violence, Dr. Vexthal said. They think it's entertaining. And their children watch these events too, Kethvar added. They bring their young to see the fighting. The council members were standing now, too upset to sit. We have to make a decision, Council Leader Mathara said. How do we deal with this? Species? I recommend we classify them as a Category 12 threat, Kethvar said. The highest danger level. But they seem friendly, Council Member Zikthara said. They haven't attacked us. That's what makes them so dangerous, Kethvar said. They don't know how scary they are. What do you mean? Council Leader Mathara asked. They think their behavior is normal, Kethvar explained. They don't understand why we're afraid of them. He showed the council the recordings of his conversations with the humans. Captain Hughes smiling as she talked about dangerous activities. Dr. Stone proudly showing off his surgical tools. Jake Morrison laughing about his injuries. They're not pretending, Kethvar said. They genuinely believe that jumping from aircraft and cutting each other open is normal behavior, which means they expect us to do the same things, Dr. Vexthal added. They might invite us to participate in their dangerous activities. Council members looked horrified. Imagine if they invite us to their sports events, Kethvar said, or ask us to try their extreme sports, or want to perform surgery on us. Dr. Vexthal added. The clicking sounds in the chamber were deafening now. We have to avoid them, Council Member Vex Quinn said. It's the only safe option. But how do we do that without offending them? Council Leader Mathara asked. They seem to want to be friends. We tell them we're busy, Kethvar said. We're studying their culture and need time to understand it. Will they believe that? Council Member Zekthara asked. They'll believe it because it's true, Kethvar said. We are trying to understand them. We're just not sure we want to. Council Leader Mathara floated back to her chair. Very well. We will avoid further contact with the humans until we understand them better. How long will that take? Council Member Vex Quinn asked. I don't know, Kethvar said. Maybe forever. The council voted to classify humanity as a Category 12 threat and to avoid human space. They would continue studying humans from a distance, but they would not meet with them again. As the council members left the chamber, Kethvar received another message from the humans. Captain Hughes was inviting them to a birthday party for one of the human children. The message included pictures of the planned activities. Kethvar looked at the images and shuddered. The humans were planning to light fires, throw objects at each other, and make loud noises. They called it fun. He deleted the message without replying. Later that day, Captain Hughes stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and wondered why the Zelari had stopped responding to their messages. She had sent 3 invitations and received no replies. Maybe they're just busy, Amy Data suggested. Or maybe we scared them somehow, Jake Morrison said. How could we scare them? Captain Hughes asked. We've been nothing but friendly. I don't know, Jake said. But they seemed nervous about everything. Even normal stuff like medical equipment and exercise gear. Maybe they're just very different from us, Dr. Stone said. Different species, different customs. I hope they come back, Captain Hughes said. I'd love to learn more about them. What Captain Hughes didn't know was that the Zelari were learning about humans too. They were studying every transmission, every recording, every piece of information they could find about human behavior. And the more they learned, the more terrified they became, not because humans were evil or violent, but because they were so completely unaware of how dangerous they were. They thought their behavior was normal. They expected other species to be just like them. The Zelari had encountered many dangerous species in their travels, but they had never met a species that was dangerous and didn't know it. That was the most frightening thing about humans. They thought they were normal dot, and that made them the most unpredictable and dangerous species in the galaxy.